Do you feel like you're going crazy in your relationship? Do you feel like your sense of reality is lost? You've lost a part of yourself? Well, the domestic hotline for abused women states that there's 74% of individuals claim that they have been through gaslighting at the start or even at the end of their relationship. I'm here today to share my story of what gaslighting did to me, how you can recognize the signs, and what you can do to protect yourself. Welcome back to Stronger Days Ahead. I'm Debbie, wife, mother, grandmother. Why do individuals use gaslighting, the emotional, manipulative abuse? Well, number one, they want to undercut your validity. They want you to forget who you are, what you stand for, what your boundaries are. They want to cause an emotional roller coaster for you. They need to be the dominant one in the relationship. And this is what happened to me, and it happened very rapidly because I wasn't aware of the signs. Looking back now, I see the signs as clear as day. At the time, I didn't. And there was many red flags. When we was chatting back and forth on the internet, he would constantly talk about female friends he had, which ultimately turned out to be friends with benefits. So he would state that they were just very good friends, and you know, if I wasn't happy with it, he would give them up. And of course I wasn't happy because it was constant talking about these two female friends he had. But then I thought, well, when I get there and we're getting married, you know, I'll meet these girls and everything will be fine. Well, lo and behold, they never showed up to our wedding, and I never knew why. So that was the first red flag that I didn't really take into consideration. But it did cause a huge paranoia for me. And him knowing that he'd caused this paranoia made him do it even more. He would hide his phone. He would hide text messages and emails, and everything was password protected, and it drove me insane. So that caused paranoia in me, believing every time he left the house or his phone rang, it was one of these female friends, when in reality he wasn't even seeing these female friends, but he made me believe he was. Why did he do that? Because he knew it hurt. It really hurt. Not only did it hurt, it isolated me even more, because he knew I was here in Canada alone and I needed him. I depended on him solely to survive. He was my lifeline to survival here in Canada. So other red flags I didn't see are things like him telling me he had no debt. Then my son came over for a visit in the beginning, and he was asked to clean out his vehicle. So my son went out to his vehicle and he pulled out a bag from underneath the car seat and brought it into the house, and this bag was full of brown envelopes. He was in a lot of debt, a hell of a lot of debt, and most of it with the CRA. So that was a scary thing for me, being there alone with this man who had lied to get me over there, which also comes into the love bombing part of it. So after the love bombing had finished, we got to the gaslighting. So this went on for months and months, and the more paranoid I became, the worse he became. To the point where it was so toxic, I'm not sure which one of us was the abuser. I can honestly say that. I followed him. When he went out in his car, I would get in the car and I would follow him. It was just a nightmare because of what he'd built up in me to believe he was actually doing, when in reality he was doing nothing. He was constantly minimizing my needs. And my needs were, I needed to come home and see my family. I needed to go back to the UK, spend time with my parents, my son who was living over there. He would deny that. He would say, you need to get a job if you want to do that. When to get me to Canada, he promised there would be regular visits. So I did try getting a job. He didn't like that. So that job was very short-lived. So again, my needs didn't matter. And when I would sit and cry, I was too sensitive. Every time they would call me, I would cry. And again, I'm too this, I'm too that. And he can't cope with the way I am. And again, I would go further down thinking, I need to change. I need to be more appreciative of this man. You know, this is my life now, and this is who I'm with. And I love this man, or I thought I loved this man. This toxic manipulation, this gaslighting, made me believe I was crazy, and that made him so happy that he could then go and tell people I was actually crazy. And yes, I did look crazy. I'm not gonna lie, I did. But this all started very small, and you know, the comments, oh, you're too sensitive, oh, you never believe anything I say. And well, no, I wasn't sensitive, and no, I didn't believe anything he said, because the lies had started right from the get-go. But then it was like little things to alter about myself. Like, I've always had long nails all my life. I've always taken care of my nails. And then, you know, it came to, well, you know, you're living in Canada now. That's not acceptable. It's not the done thing here. You should cut your nails. And, you know, you want to be a fisherwoman, so cut your nails. So I did it. Then the next thing was, you know, I've always built a very elaborate Christmas tree. And he came home one night, and it was our first Christmas together, and I was so happy, because back in the UK we always had the grand Christmas tree lighting on the 10th of December every year. So he walked in, and I did the same thing, and he walked straight by my tree. So I said to him, don't you like my tree? And his answer was, well, it's not typically Canadian. And he said, normally we would sit there and threadle popcorn on a string and yada, 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 you know, basically a hillbilly Christmas tree. So, you know, I went along with all these things, and over time, they just eroded my sense of self. I didn't know who I was anymore. I would call my family back home crying. They just didn't want to listen, you know, they just didn't. It was like I was never happy, but I didn't realize these little things were undermining my self-confidence. Till in the end, I had no self-confidence. My weight rapidly increased to way over 300 pounds. It was just, I didn't know who I was anymore. But going back to the beginning, I should have just turned around, got on a plane and gone back. But I didn't, because I thought, you know, I'm being a bit hard on this guy who's trying to make it work. So I stuck it out, and I stuck it out, and then it went from, you know, these lady friends to his daughter to, you know, he was making me believe he was telling everybody everything about me, and I'm crazy and never happy and all these things. When in reality, I could have been very happy, but no, I wasn't happy with my life. And what he used most against me was my daughter, because I'd come to Canada with just her. So I was very, very dependent on him. I didn't work. So yes, he had me hook, line and sinker, fully dependent on him. So he could say to me whatever he wanted, and I would just cry, and I would be the one begging for forgiveness. You know, when he would just say, you know, you're too sensitive, you're too this, you're too that. And I would sit back and think, oh, I need to stop this. I need to be a good wife. I need to show I'm grateful. So I would try doing all these things, only to be undermined again when, you know, I'd stopped pleasing him 300%. And I questioned myself, because he was denying my reality. And my reality was, I was homesick. I needed my friends. I needed my family. Yes, I made the decision to be here with him, but I still needed to go home and see them. Because back then, phone calls and things like that were astronomically priced. I never spoke to them, never saw them. And, you know, he would deny me that. Every time I was homesick, he would say, well, go back home then. Well, that was impossible. I had no money. He wasn't going to pay for it. So everything he tricked me, the love bombing phase, into coming to Canada didn't materialize. Once I was here, I was controlled, I was gaslighted, and basically emotionally abused. I was constantly told I'm too sensitive. If I didn't like it, do something about it. But he knew fine well I could do nothing about it. I was trapped. So here I am in Canada with an 11-year-old daughter, trapped. I was constantly blamed for every situation. Every time I went to him and said, you know, this doesn't feel right, the whole story was either denied or twisted, and I was the one to blame. Again, this is another form of emotional abuse. Not once did he ever take responsibility for what he'd done or how bad I felt about anything that he may have done or he may not have done, but I felt was affecting me. There was no understanding. He had no cares, and he would just leave. He'd just leave the house, and sometimes he was gone for days. Knowing fine well I was already paranoid about these friends that he had told me that he had, which in fact I'm not even sure whether he did have them because I never met them. So I'm going to go on to give you signs to look for if you feel you're being gaslighted, because it is crazy making. And if you feel the need, like I did, to start recording conversations, it's time to get out. Because if you're recording conversations, you're already doubting your reality of what they have said and what they are doing throughout any argument you may be having. You are feeling that you need to play that back to prove to them, or when they are, you know, shooting their mouth off about you to somebody else, you can say, look, listen, this is what really happened. Love isn't like that, and it should never be like that. You know, two people should be able to have a conversation where one listens and then you come to a resolve together, not, you know, have to record it so you feel better yourself. So number one, if you are questioning your own thoughts, feelings, even memories, it's a red flag. It's time to set a boundary and just, you know that you are being gaslighted, because you're not supposed to be double guessing yourself, second guessing yourself, sorry. You should be sure in your heart and mind that what you're saying is right, and your partner is going to listen, not deny or shift the blame onto you, because that is signs of an emotional abuser. Number two, if you feel the need to keep apologizing, even when you haven't done anything wrong, that's a sign. You're not trusting yourself. You're already feeling everything is your fault. Number three, you're feeling confused and crazy. Gaslighters are just the best at making you lose touch with reality. And that is what will happen. You will second guess every thought, feeling, and emotion you have. Number four, defending their behavior. Rationalizing why they've done or said what they've done. Oh, they're too tired, or they must have had a hard day at work. You know, what can I do to make this better? And again, apologizing. Just making excuses for their behavior. You have to stop that. Number five, you feel isolated. Manipulators are great at making you feel alone and fully dependent on them, as I explained earlier. This is just a crippling thing to suffer with. It completely broke my spirit. So if you feel like you're being isolated and are alone, please reach out to somebody, because you're not. And 9 out of 10 times you are being isolated on purpose. Number 6, you start doubting your ability to make decisions. They have made you feel so unsure, even stupid, for some previous decisions you've made. And I know we can all be a little bit selfish and guilty of that one, but these manipulators, these gaslighters are experts in this field. It's all about dominance and control. If any of these steps resonate with you, you are probably or maybe in a relationship where gaslighting is happening and you need to take steps to regain your sense of self-worth and control. Talk to somebody you trust. Sometimes having an outside perspective on this will help you see that you're not imagining things, that it's real. But if in my case, nobody could see what I was going through. Nobody could see the real him. It was very difficult. But you can reach out, because if you have somebody that you can trust, a real friend, a therapist, a counselor, a doctor, a priest, anybody that you will trust, explain your story. They are there to listen and they will help you. If you can, set boundaries. Tell your partner that you're not accepting this behavior, that you deserve to be heard, you deserve to be listened to and given respect for how you're feeling at any given time. If they've done something that you disagree with or it hurts you, let them know. Just set those boundaries and tell them that you are not going to tolerate this. Gaslighting for me was very, very damaging, as it can be for any individual. But recognizing the signs of it, even as late as I did, it helped me break free. It then led on to me getting the help I needed to get some validation back for who I was. I would look in the mirror and I didn't even know who I was anymore. As I said, my weight had just risen to astronomical heights, and my sense of reality was gone. Everything just fell apart for me, including feeling like I didn't want to walk this earth anymore. So it's very, very damaging. And it can lead to a lot of mental health issues, which for me it did. So, as always, with all my videos, thank you for watching. If any of this resonates with you or somebody you may suspect is going through this, please like, share, comment below and subscribe to my channel so I can continue putting the word out there to help people in the situation I was in. As I had nobody to help me, I had to figure it all out on my own. And while my story is in bits and pieces, a lot of my memory has been wiped. I just know what I'm left with now, and the bits that built up to me feeling the way I feel now. But I know somewhere out there, somebody needs to hear this. So until my next video, take care.